The Star Wars talk. I'm Seth, one of the hosts. This is
And I'm
Caleb, the other host.
Yeah, we had to go back to the old-fashioned way this week because somebody forgot the extension cable. We're not gonna name names.
Oh,
No, we're not gonna name names.
all right.
I think we're good.
We'll be covering a few things before we get into the real meat of the episode.
Yeah,
as always.
yeah, as always. So it's not always because there's not always something to talk about. But this week we have a few things to talk about. We did not talk about one thing that happened last week, I think, and that is the fact that James Earl Jones is retired.
Stepping down.
He's retiring from the voice of Vader, which is fair. The man is 90, is in his 90s.
Give the man a break.
So it makes sense. It's not that he can't do it. I mean, it's not that he can't completely do it anymore. It's that he's just tired.
Yeah.
And so
I've been Darth Vader for 50 years.
I mean, he can't do it exactly the same, which is why, like, even in Obi-Wan, they were already like using like some like voice filter stuff and some voice replication technology to get the Vader voice in Obi-Wan. And so, and that in itself, the company who did that is an interesting story all on its own. They were doing. See, it's funny because we made the joke before we started the live stream that this wouldn't be a political thing, but they were doing it from. I just had a brain fart.
Don't look at me. I don't know shit about politics.
Yeah, no, I know.
This is both a good thing and a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah, no. In this case, it's from Ukraine.
Oh.
They were doing it from Ukraine.
Yeah, that might be a little bit hard to do at the moment.
So it's impressive what they did.
Yeah.
Considering what was going on at the time when they would have been doing this.
It's still going on.
Yeah, it's still going on. But, like, it was going on at this time as well. Like, so it's interesting that they were able to do this in that time. So good on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's two more stories we wanted to talk about. The other is, well, I guess we're sticking in political, but not really.
We're moving
to
before real-world events.
Before Queen Elizabeth passed, she did a couple more honorary knightings, and both of them are related to Star Wars, or two of them are related to Star Wars. One of them is John Williams, who deserves it, in my opinion.
That man works when it comes to the music department.
Another guy who has stepped down from Star Wars because he's like, I've done my best work. I'm out.
Yep. Doesn't get any better.
Which is fair, and I kind of like that we're getting new music in Star Wars, and I like that they're not trying to be John Williams. They're doing their own take.
Yeah.
Like they still have some of the John Williams music mixed in. Yeah, like the music is in there. Like you can hear certain like themes still in some of it, but it's not just, oh, we're going to try to be John Williams. No, we're doing our own thing. It just happens to have,
Can't wait for the Star Wars Wreck Punk album.
I mean, Andor's playing a little bit with like rock kind of. Like, and it's got like more drums in it than you're used to in Star Wars. Cuz Star Wars isn't usually drum heavy music. It's usually more brass. So that's interesting. And then the other person is Bob Iger, I forget what role he is now at Disney, but he was the CEO at the time when the Star Wars acquisition happened, and he only recently dropped as that position, so he was just like,
what? Did he choose to drop it, or?
Yeah, he dropped. Okay. Yeah. So I forget what his role is now.
I can't be the intermediary for the mouse anymore.
I forget what his role is now, but it's still like a pretty important position. But yeah, so I don't know how Bob. I don't know what the qualifiers were for his honorary knighting, but I'm not against it. Personally, and I know this is a spicy take for some Disney fans, I think Bob Iger is some of the best things that have happened to Disney.
All right.
And I know that
I'll see where in 20 years down the future.
Oh no, like but like currently, like at this moment, I would say Bob Iger is some of the best that has happened to Disney, in my opinion.
Sorry, 20 years down the future is generous given the state of the world.
And
we'll
also,
go with 5.
It's also generous considering how how like higher, like often probably the turnover rate is for a.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm not a lot of people are fans of the current CEO. Bob Chapek is.
Is this one a spicy one?
It depends who you ask, but yeah, I'm not a fan of Chapek. I will say that. Chapek to me is more worried about parks, and that's what he was originally. That was his position. He was in charge of parks. He kind of has not given up being in charge of parks, even though he's CEO. And it's like, no. You need to be in charge of everything, and also you delegate. You don't try to take charge of it yourself. You're supposed to delegate, and he's not really doing that. And then
we need another park in fucking Wisconsin.
And then a lot of people like Eisner, who was the predecessor to Bob Iger. He gave us the Renaissance, but I wasn't as big. I'm not as big of an Eisner fan.
He
was also a parks guy, but he was. I mean, but at the same time, he. I mean, we had some of the best Disney films during his time as well. So
speaking of films, and this is no relation to any of the stuff. Well, maybe a little. We just talked about. I almost accidentally started like a genuine argument between Tori and Andrew.
What'd you do?
I was like, hey, the first question I asked was, what do you think the best like fight scene you've ever seen in a movie is? Now, they both responded with Endgame. And I'm like, does that count?
Yeah, because it's Disney produced. Was it Disney, specifically Disney related? Or?
No, it was just any of them.
I mean, I think it counts. Endgame was a pretty big fight scene, and I mean, it's a battle, really. But I would argue there's a fight scene.
Yes. The other question that was asked was, what's the best Pixar movie?
Ooh.
The conclusion... Now, of course, my answer to this is it's got to be The Incredibles, right? Oh, okay.
It's up there.
However, Tori comes out of nowhere with this opinion. I don't like WALL-E. I was like,
whoa, Tori, Tori, what the fuck, Tori?
I was like,
I know you don't watch the show, but what the fuck, Tori?
What do you mean? I'm like, it's 2 little robots falling in love at trying to fix the world. There's not a lot of like...
It's internal conflict.
And she's like, I just don't like it. They're very agitating with all the beeps and boops. And I'm like, they're robots. Like, it is not a bad film.
No.
That's just her take. She doesn't like it.
Oh, Tori. Was Up at least brought up in the conversation?
No, it ended after me and my brother decided to do the Incredibles bit between Honey and Lucius from the first one.
Where is my super suit?
I threw it away.
But yeah, so we got one more piece of Star Wars news.
Yeah.
I had to go on my Disney. I had to make my stand on where I stand with Disney.
Just a brief bit of levity in these trying times.
So, as for the Disney position... Oh, no, Star Wars. Sorry. So, the last piece of Star Wars news is technically in the rumor and speculation. Like, there's no... It's apparently been overheard through some sources that Disney is talking about having a new Star Wars game every 6 months.
Yeah, and
And we discussed the
logistics of it.
Yeah, because you were like, at first when I told you that, you were like, what? And I was like, no. They mean like different studios working on different games at different times, and they're just trying to make sure that every 6 months a game is released.
Yeah.
Which
that's not how I interpreted it.
You interpreted it as, oh, this studio has to make a game in 6 months.
I was like, this seems like a bad idea.
But no. They meant, Studio A is working on a game for 3 years or 5 years, depending how long they want to take to make it. They get it out, and then another studio who's also been working on a game for 3 to 5 years comes out with their game about 6 months after.
I was also thinking, like, commercially speaking, I'm not sure that's a good idea either.
It depends. I mean, as long as they're different genres and different, because that's the thing, everybody forgets that Star Wars games did come out pretty frequently back in the day. They were just different genres. We weren't getting sequels to them immediately after, except for Force Unleashed. They tried to rush that one, and that's how we got Force Unleashed 2, which is somehow even shorter than Force Unleashed 1.
How long is...
If you just do the story and you're not searching for every little thing, you can complete those games in about... You can complete both of them within the same day.
Oh. Shit.
Yeah, because I've done it. If you just speed run the game, playing the main game, just going for the story, same day, you can beat them both. I would say Force Unleashed 1 maybe 4 to 6 hours, and then I would say Force Unleashed 2 is somehow half that. Yeah. But of course, our favorite game, Knights of the Republic, is like 40 plus hours. But yeah, like they had different genres because you had your RPGs like Knights of the Republic, you had your more action God of War like Force Unleashed. You had your strategy games like Empire at War. So there was different types of games coming out. And you had Battlefront, which was FPS, and third person FPS, whereas Republic Commando was more first person FPS with it was more story driven, almost like a Halo game, the way Republic Commando was. And all of these are games that came out around the same era, and then you had Jedi Knight series, which started as a Doom-like in the first game with Dark Forces, and then journeys into third-person action hack and slash, as it becomes Jedi Knight focused. And so, like, yeah, you had variety.
I see.
And I think that's what Disney's going for, is they're trying to be like, hey, we want to kind of go back to this type of, before we bought you, the type of games you were making then, because let's look at the games that we've had since the buyout. Battlefront, Battlefront 2, Jedi Fallen Order.
Are we going to count the most recent one?
Oh.
Lego?
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm talking about, like, purely, like, main, like, because Lego isn't a main title. It's technically done by TT Games, which is their own. They do Lego games whenever they feel like. That has less to, like, they pay for the license to make Star Wars games, but they don't. It's a different ball game. It's a different ballpark compared. And we've had a bunch of mobile games, but I'm not going to count those either.
Okay.
So, we've had 3 actual games since the buyout. 2 of them are from the same franchise. And really only one of them was well received on release, and the other one has gained an audience now after they've stopped providing updates on it. So, you can see why Disney's like, we need to do more. Because there have been a lot of games where they're like, we're making this game, and then it never comes out.
Yeah.
Since the Disney buyout. Because there was that, It was like a smuggler game that they were working on, and it was going to be It was going to be like this Uncharted style looking game because it had Amy Hennig in charge of it, who
Mm.
was in charge of like worked with Uncharted and all those type of games and Ubisoft as well. So she's had experience with those type of games.
Is she the one responsible for the fucking feather missions?
No, she's more of
No? Okay.
no, she's more of a top.
Oh,
Per-
I
like,
see.
the-
I'm not.
Yeah, she's not
To the
really.
designer that made the fucking almanac and feather missions, fuck you. Everything else was good.
Yeah,
They're a
And-
good game overall, but damn you for making me run around for half an hour chasing feathers and pieces of paper.
yeah. So yeah, she was gonna work on that. That got canceled. We were supposed to get. I mean, we've got one that's in development hell right now, Eclipse,
Yeah.
and then we've got the Knights of
It'll
the
come out in 3 to 5 years. Give it a
Yeah.
Give it a decade.
Give it a decade. It'll come out. It'll come out for my kids when I like by the time I finally have kids. That's when it'll come
Old
out.
and gray.
You're right, my grandkids. And then
It feels so
like
mean spirited, but also at the same time.
I don't feel bad for kicking on this one.
Yeah.
This is a horse that I don't mind beating.
Just
And then the other game that's in development hell right now is the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which that one I'm a little bit less upset with. I'm more of a I will wait on that because one, they didn't show us a full-blown trailer like Eclipse did, where Eclipse was like, here's this really awesome trailer that makes you feel like the game is coming out within the next 3 to 5 years. No. It's coming out in like the next 7 to 8. It's like, okay. Like, we haven't even started working on it. Then how do you have this?
I like.
Do you even know your story? Whereas,
There's a bunch of guys hitting drums and looking evil.
and Trade Federation.
Yes. That's it.
Also, it takes place during the High Republic. That's it. Whereas Knights of the Republic remake is at least they just showed us a title card and Revan. That doesn't feel like okay, I'm gonna be mad if it's delayed a bit. That's more of okay, you just had a title card, which tells me you just started production on this, which means I'm gonna have some time before you're like really.
Assuming that comes out.
I mean, it sounds like it is. They've moved like who's in charge, like because we talked about it. They changed who's working on it. So that makes sense.
Assuming that comes out, think we'll play it.
Oh, we'll absolutely fucking play it. Wait, which one? Well, we'll play both.
We'll play both and compare the two.
No, but we're definitely playing Knights of the Republic remake because it's me.
Yeah.
We are absolutely playing that. And then we'll play Eclipse because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
That one I've kind of lost the hype. Like when the trailer dropped, I was like, "Oh, hype!" But then,
3 to 5 years.
well, no, 3 to 5 years I'm fine with. It's longer than that.
Oh no, that's right. Yeah.
3 to 5 years is a normal like. Okay, that's an expected time to make a game. No, this is longer than that because they were still hiring people. Yeah, so I can see where they're kind of Disney's like, we need a structure. We need to be able to like, because that's why they ended their contract with EA is ending, because EA was the only one making video games. That's when Disney first bought Star Wars, because that was the license EA got. They shortened the license, by the way, because because EA only made 3 freaking games.
Look, we need more than this.
Yeah, it's like, and you've only provided 1 actual hit. Like, you've given us 3 games and 1 hit.
Yeah.
That's not a great record. And so And then, of course, we're getting Hunters
Mm.
coming out pretty soon. I don't know if we have a date attached to it right now. We have a book that's attached to it, so I would assume that the game will come out around the time of that book. And so, with that in mind, it's probably going to be it's going to be early next year, is what it looks like based on when that book's coming out. And that's going to be somewhere. It's basically Star Wars Overwatch. It's a 4v4 type game.
I see.
And that's different. We don't really have that in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's still going to have lore, just like Overwatch has lore still. So it's not like so it's canon. So there's nothing like, we're not missing anything by having a different type of game like this. And then there's talks of working on a strategy game, because we haven't had a real-time strategy game in a minute for Star Wars. And so I'm fine with variety, and I'm fine with this every 6 months, because more Star Wars is more Star Wars for me. And honestly, while I like Battlefront 2 and I like Jedi Fallen Order, and of course we're getting Jedi Survivor because we got the trailer for that. That's also coming out. We don't know when exactly. We have an idea because, once again, there's a tie-in novel. Yeah. And so we're like, oh, it's probably around this time, because you don't release the tie-in novel outside of when you would be releasing that game. You would put it pretty close, a little bit before, usually, before the release of the game. Probably a month at most before the game's released.
You release a tie-in novel, but it's
like
set after the game.
Yeah. Usually it's before the game.
Yeah, I know. It would be such a dick move.
Because Battlefront 2 had a tie-in novel. You got Inferno Squad, and that was a good book. I like Inferno Squad. I can't wait till we get to that, because I can't wait till we get to you playing video games on this show more, outside of the Old Republic, which I wonder when our next expansion for that is as well. Which that's another game that, like, we get too, but that's not canon. It's Legends material, and then it's also kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, BioWare's just working on it when they feel like. They're just like, we'll update it every few months, and then we'll do major expansions at least once a year.
Just over here flying off the handle at, like, some mission.
But yeah, so I think that's our video game thoughts.
Yeah.
I think we both agree that this sounds like a good plan, if implemented correctly.
Yeah.
That's the key.
That is the key thing.
And I think it will be, because they've already cut off their license with just EA. Because if it was just EA, that I feel like that 6 month period would not work. While EA has a lot of companies under them, that, like, development companies, because you got DICE, you got BioWare, you got all these developers. It wouldn't quite work, I think, because you'd be relying on just this one company. Whereas they've already cut that off. They've already, like, done, like, we're now Lucasfilm Games. So, because, LucasArts is dead. So we got Lucasfilm Games, the new LucasArts, which is the old name for LucasArts before it became LucasArts, so they kind of revived that name. And then they've, said, all right, we're going to work with whatever companies want to make games. Obviously, your games can't come out till our contract with EA is done, but you can start working on them and pitching them to us. Even Ubisoft has thrown a few pitches and been like, hey, we want to make a Star Wars game. Which modern Ubisoft I could see making a decent game. Although modern Ubisoft just made a big flub, in my opinion, with the whole getting rid of online for a lot of their games recently, and that's caused a whole video game fiasco.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it got rid of a lot of video game preservation for a lot of their titles, and it also got rid of the multiplayer for some games where the multiplayer was getting popular, and honestly, Ubisoft has kind of fucked themselves over on their own multiplayer a lot. Like, the Assassin's Creed multiplayer is great, but they immediately release a new Assassin's Creed, because, this was back when they were doing yearly Assassin's Creed, so they would have this really cool multiplayer idea where, it's kind of like, nowadays it'd be pretty popular because it's like Among Us. It's, you're you're all sneaking to kill each other, and you gotta hide and pretend that you're pretend you're an NPC. Like, there's really cool factors to it. But then, like, the next year, a new Assassin's Creed came out, and it's like, oh, well, I got to put down this multiplayer because the new Assassin's Creed is out, and it's got a multiplayer, so I don't care about this one now. And then they eventually gave up on it because they said, oh, people don't like the multiplayer. And it's like, no, people do. You just didn't support it long enough for people to actively enjoy it. When you're releasing a new game every year, they're not going to... And then, of course, now they've gotten rid of a lot of their multiplayer backlog to where now it's harder to play even single-player games, too, because it's like, you had to have the online factor to make it work, and now it doesn't, and now, yeah. And so it affects not just Assassin's Creed.
Switching over to, like, one and done. Like, you go and you play the story mode, and that's it.
Yeah.
For me, this changes nothing.
It changes nothing. For some people,
everyone else, it might change things up quite a bit.
And I think it hurts only in the case that it hurts the older games, and it makes it harder for even non-Assassin's Creed titles to be discovered by new players. And it's a game preservation thing, which is why I'm personally okay with ROMs and emulators, because game preservation, but also don't pirate. Maybe. For legal reasons, I have to say don't pirate.
Corporates over there, they'll get you.
Yeah, the corpos from Andor will come and get me.
Once they try to sell both themselves out and you after you've shot their friend in the rain.
Yeah. No, he hit his own head. That's not my fault. Okay. So
we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we're not talking about Andor yet. We're gonna wait till that the first season's over before we fully discuss it. This week we're here to talk about High Republic.
Yeah.
We're kind of on the High Republic track again. We're gonna be at least in chronological order for two things, and then we're going back.
We're not.
And then we're going back a few 200 years to talk about Path of Deceit. But this week we're talking about Starlight, which feels like every month they're getting up to something.
Fucking Starlight Beacon goes through so much shit.
Velko. Her job is tough.
Fucking, she likes working there, but goddamn, it never stops.
And then good old Tarpfin, and well, for now until they go traitor, and then. Although I think the traitor thing gets explained in a future Starlight short story where they're like, no, Tarpfin was forced. But also, it's like, fuck you, Tarpfin. You could have done better. You're head of security. You betrayed your best friend, Velko. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing coming in knowing that Tarpfin is, like...
gonna betray them?
Yeah.
Tarpfin is still better, though, than... Senator.
Oh, traitor bitch?
Yeah. Senator traitor bitch, yeah.
Senator.
You gotta add that extra title.
Senator traitor bitch to you.
Look here, Miss Traitor Bitch, it's Senator Traitor Bitch to you.
Just like someone graffitis that on her fucking desk.
God, I can't wait till it comes out that she's a traitor. I can't wait till people figure out. But let's talk about this story. This one is called Past Mistakes, and we get to see some of our. I'm gonna let you give the synopsis, but I want to, be happy that we're getting our buddy Skier in this episode.
Yeah,
we get Skier, we get
He's one of
Velko.
my favorites. Because Skier's going through the ringer, but he's still trying.
Yeah, because this takes place. I would argue around the time when when they're back after the mission that went wrong in the High Republic comic, where he just after they saved Kiev, after they saved Kiev, who was undercover as a Nihil. It's after that.
After the I think
Basically, this is when Avar's like, "Hey, no, you can't be a Jedi right now."
Yeah. It's hilarious with that.
Yeah,
knowing full well what happens later.
Yeah. But yeah, so I said this week you get to tell the synopsis.
So, we arrived to Starlight Beacon with our favorite administrator, Velko Jaheen. She has been busy directing things, sending people here and there, because that's what her job is.
Yeah.
Now, as she is minding her business and finally about to go on her, like, I'm gonna say 10-minute break, things go wrong.
Yeah.
And Galatarpin essentially calls her up and is like, hey, I need you to go into the hangar area because there's a bit of a ruckus going on.
Yeah.
I do it, but I have like 24 prisoners to go through, which is less than there were yesterday, but I'm still behind schedule.
Oh, also, Tarpin terms it as a fracas. Yeah. There's a fracas going on. It's a fracas.
Yeah. And
I never thought I would hear the word fracas in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a weird one. And so she goes and is like, all right, I'll go and do it since I'm right next door, essentially.
Yeah.
And she goes in and she's like, God damn you, Tarpin.
You owe me big time.
You owe me big time. Because essentially, Jedi Master Skier, who has been known to be like
he's known to get into some outbursts and also be tough,
is essentially arguing with what is, I'm going to call it her eggs?
Yeah, her ex.
Her eggs. In a very tense discussion.
Yeah, Vuma.
No, Vuma's the name of
Oh, yeah, the race. He's a Vuman, and then...
Yeah. His name is Vayne.
Vayne Sarpo, that's right.
And so she walks over and she's like, great, my ex is arguing with one of the loudest the rowdiest Jedi Masters.
One that could rip his arms off.
And so he's like, and so Vayne is like, hey, oh, thank God you're here. Can you help me with this, please? And she's like, okay, what's going on? And so the situation is explained at the moment in that he is like, look, I brought all these, like, knockoff Jedi statues with me.
And they're, like, of Avar Kriss, and they're,
he essentially is, like, selling knockoff action figures. And he's like...
Well, they're little statues.
Yeah. He's like, well, people come to Starlight Beacon to see the Jedi, right?
So here's, like, you could have a whole branding thing where you could sell toys and...
Yeah.
Merchandising. Merchandising.
Yep. And so Skier is pissed off about this. He's like, no, don't sell any of this shit. And they discuss this, and it's kind of like, this is like not the worst thing. And so he's like, okay, should I add... So for the one they make of you, Master Skier, do we need one arm or two?
And that's where the...
Skier's like...
That's where Skier lost it.
Skier's like, I'm gonna fuck you up. But fortunately, Velko's there. She's like, no, I'll handle it. Go and drink some water.
And it becomes this discussion of, you know how in bad taste this is.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, but... what about a souvenir mug? And she fucking buys it. Except it's described as like... So it has the sticker of Starlight Beacon on it.
To be fair,
but it's a shit sticker. That's like upside down.
Well, that's...
Which is funny.
Yeah, that's funny considering...
It's funny, but also...
Considering our knowledge.
It's funny in that tragic way of like... I know what happens in the future.
Not funny, haha, but funny, I'm gonna freaking die.
Yeah. And so they go and they're discussing things, and he's like, hey, after Master Skier has left, she's taken Vayne to this like little bar where it's nice and quiet and no one else from the Republic works there.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of other ones that people go to, but they just end up talking about work.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want to do that.
You know what though? Speaking of that mug, I'd probably buy it just for the,
Probably would.
especially with it upside down. Don't right side up it. Have it upside down. I want it upside down. In fact, no. Let's go a step further and make it look like how it looks during Fallen Star.
Well, you want to add a little bit of
A little
flames?
explosion and flames and some smoke. Yeah. Maybe some Nihil ships.
Your commemorative mug is rude as hell. That's not a sentence I thought.
You know what though? Vayne, I feel like would make like Fallen
Probably
Star.
would.
Like I feel like Vayne is the type that like. Nope,
on.
I'm not gonna go there.
No,
No, that's a
go on.
little too
Oh,
political.
too much?
Yeah, it's a little
Okay.
too much, too real.
Too real? Okay, we'll drop that one.
Yeah.
But Vayne is essentially asking Velko, like, hey, do you actually like it here? And she kind of doesn't really answer him. And he makes like a gesture like he's got a real bad headache. And then immediately goes to like looking around. And Velko looks around as well because he's like, all right, what's up with that? And she realizes that he's looking at another woman.
Ayo.
And she's like, you know what? Your parking meter is about to go
Yeah.
bad in 20 minutes. And he goes, wait, what?
This is the one time where I'm kind of like I get you, Velko, but also
I'm
like that's some dirty shit.
That is petty as hell.
That's some dirty cop shit.
Yeah. Except the thing is, she's not charging him for it.
No.
She gives him. And he. It's like that was so unnecessary.
Which he checks out a Zeltron specifically, which is the alien race, which is, I don't know the canonicity of fixing some of the problematic stuff of Zeltrons, but because in Legends, Zeltrons are known for having like a pheromone thing, which makes them more attractive to people.
I see.
I do not know if that has been changed in any way.
And she's also another thing that Velko has noticed. I was like, hey, did you get more tattoos on your face? Now, my immediate thought of this was, don't the Nihil have a lot of tattoos just fucking everywhere? They're described as bright blue, kind of like the ones they have on their face.
Yeah, because that was a whole thing with Nan.
Yeah, no, that's the thing with a lot of Nihil.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that's how like
That's
Reith
an
realized.
easy
That's how
way.
Reith was like, oh fuck, I fucked up.
That's an easy way, like if they're wearing like lightning kind of patterns on their clothes or tattoos that have that.
Yeah, maybe they should
Just have
stop
their-
having a uniform.
They just have their gang affiliation.
But that's also kind of realistic
Yeah.
because like even real life games kind of have like their tattoos and stuff. Yeah.
And so she's like, after that, she's like, all right. About 20 minutes later, she's like, I shouldn't have done that. I should go apologize.
Yeah.
So she goes back and she's like, hey, what are you doing with that other person I saw you hanging around with? I should mention, and this is important, that there is, Vayne is hanging around with this little, like, fuck.
Yeah.
A Peasel,
Yeah.
which is essentially a roly-poly. Mixed with, like, maybe a cockroach? At least that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
And they are sentient, they can talk. But they're not exactly known for bravery, I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. And so like
She goes and she's like, all right, I don't understand why you're talking with this one and not the woman from the bar. I'm confused about this. And she's like, wait a minute. The gears start turning. She's like, hold on. What else is in the box besides those
Yeah.
statues?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box, Vayne?
What's in the box? Well, it's not his girlfriend's head.
Fortunately.
Reference to a movie, and it's a spoiler to that movie, but if you don't know that movie, then that's fine.
I'm not going to say the name of that movie for suspense.
Yeah.
So she goes over and she's like, what if I just fucking yeeted this tray off to the side? And it's like, so in the box of children's toys, knockoff child toys, and commemorative
There's some
mugs,
pew-pews.
there's a shit ton of guns in there.
Yeah, there's some pew-pews in there.
She's like, wait a minute.
What?
No, you fucking don't. As he tries to essentially run
it's
away.
like, no, this is illegal. I'm taking you in.
It's like, why did you only... No, you're not... You're being arrested for this one.
Yeah, this is actually a crime.
I was being spiteful before, but no, this is a genuine crime.
Yeah.
And so their buddy tries to run off, but Skier's apparently just waiting at the doorway. And
Yep.
he's like, I figured something was bullshit.
Yeah. And it basically turns out, yeah, they're running guns for the Nihil.
Yeah. And it's like, well, shit, is essentially what Vayne is doing.
And so that's part one.
That is the end of part one.
Part two starts with Velko immediately breaking protocol to go talk to him while he's in a cell.
And she's like, Gal's
Because
gonna tap my ass for this.
Because she wants to understand why he turned out the way he did.
And she's like thinking about it, and she's like, well, he's never been like an anarchist. He might have been a mercenary beforehand, but he's never been one to like go this far.
Yeah.
And so
like at first it's like, I'm not talking to you, you pig type stuff, but not quite. Like he's just not talking really. And then eventually it gets dark immediately. Like he flips a switch to where he's just like, oh, you want to know? You really want to know? And it's just like, yeah. And it's like,
you and your Jedi friends can fucking save anyone on the frontier, or Valo, could you?
Yeah.
It's like,
and he's just like, you can't help me because you're the problem. Specifically talking about Skier.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ooh.
Uh,
Yeah, because he basically flips a switch. He goes from, like, just not talking to, like, immediately, like, dark and, like, there's this side
of
fucking
him. Raving lunatic rant.
Yeah. Well, he's a zealot now.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot of the imagery we get with the Nihil in general, is we get this zealotry and kind of a, not quite a worship, but almost there.
Yeah.
And it's because it's still every man for himself. Like, not everybody worships Markion, but some do. And then others are more of like, I'm just doing this because fuck the Jedi and fuck the Republic.
Yeah. There are the, like, true believers in the Nihil from...
Yeah.
And then there are the ones who are like, I just really fucking hate the Republic and the Jedi.
And then there's some that don't care either way, and they're just like, I do it for the chaos.
And then there are those that are like, either I don't know anything else, or I don't have any other choice because they've got Jimmy, Jenny, and James hostage back home.
Which I feel Nan is kind of that latter one, not because anybody's hostage, but she's just known this life.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to do anything else.
Yeah. I would say Vayne is kind of number 2. Yeah. Fuck the Jedi, fuck the Republic.
I get the sense that Vayne would, like, maybe charge the Jedi extra fees. Something, like, small and petty.
Yeah.
But normally. But instead of the events that have happened. So after his little rant against the Jedi and the Republic, it becomes real weird in that Skier's like, No, my magic senses are telling me something is wrong here. You're angry. And he's like, of fucking course I'm angry. And he's like, yeah, but you're not angry at us. You're angry at, and there's a weird mix of shame and fear as well, but none of that is directed towards us.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? No, uh-uh. And so what follows is a cavalcade of events of Skier saying to do one thing, uh, Vayne saying another, and Velko saying another.
Yep.
Skier's like, open the door to his cell. Vayne's like, you need to run now.
Yeah.
And Velko is like, no, shut down the entire cell block.
Yeah, because it turns out like Piesel's been up to something.
Piesel is shady.
Yeah, while he's a coward.
Piesel's name is actually Clune.
Yeah, Clune. While Clune is a little bit of a weasel, and you know, he's a bit, which makes sense with his name Piesel. He's a bit of a coward, but he's also apparently really good at like manipulating the situation.
Yeah. And so the following events happen. The tower is shut down. Well, the cell block is shut down and locked down as Vayne's face explodes.
Yeah.
They strap. So what Clune did is they essentially strapped an EMP bomb to Vayne's face.
Yep.
And it worked. And so Clune the Piesel, Clune is his name. Piesel is the race.
Oh yeah.
For clarity.
Yeah.
And they're like, damn. Who would have expected this to happen?
Or her name, rather.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no. It's good.
I was confused about the gender of the weird bug roly-poly.
Yeah.
This is a thing that tends to happen with alien species.
Yeah. But yeah, Clune.
So Clune's plan was for them to sneak in at night, but Skier and Velko fucked that plan up because they were able to figure out enough with their...
kind of incidentally.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of...
This is another, you're right, but for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And so they're like, Clune's like, yeah, it's just a real damn shame. Man, they must have really cared about you. And this is after the breakout has failed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of Vayne giving hints, Skier's ability to sense things with the Force, and Velko's detective work.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna... She is like, what if I just taunted this Trandoshan right now?
Which
does work pretty well for them, up until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because, as it turns out, apparently, the structural integrity of Vayne's skull is surprisingly more than I thought it would be. Vayne, at this point, gets up.
Well, it's that exoskeleton.
And decides, with their, like, it's described as their faces still burning.
Yeah.
Decides, you know what? Fuck you, Clune. And it was like, that EMP thing was a one-time deal, so you can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
And Velko's like, I'm not sure if he crawled over to my blaster while his face was still burning.
Either way, he gets his hands on her blaster.
Yeah. And Clune is no more.
Yeah.
They are shot dead in the middle of their cell.
Yep.
And so it's like, alright, all Annihil, go back into your cells.
Also, this is also why we We don't visit. This is why the rules exist for not visiting the cells.
Yep. Uh, and so eventually order is restored. The Nihil are properly imprisoned again. Not killed, but
Well, Clune is killed.
Clune is dead. They're
Uh,
not coming back.
and more than likely, Vayne is. He's not dead yet, but I feel like those are not injuries he's coming back from.
We'll live.
I feel like that was a last minute. I'm shooting, and then dead, but they don't say that. So
No, Did
They-
you not finish reading?
I did. I just can't remember because it's
Okay.
been a minute.
Okay. So what happens afterwards is Velko goes to visit Vayne.
Yeah,
essentially
that's
in
right.
The hospital.
That's right.
And so she's like, "Okay, listen, thanks for that." And he's like, "So, yeah, about the circumstances. Am I getting pardoned?" That's not how he says it. But
Yeah.
that's the conversation.
Yeah. It's
Like, am I going to jail now because I was blackmailed and had my face exploded by the Nihil? And they're like, "No, you're getting a pardon."
yeah. This
because
is
of the
a under duress situation.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, did you do that for me?" And she's like, No, Master Skier did."
See,
And
the
he's like-
Jedi aren't so bad.
And he's like, "The old Dubak has a heart." And Skier, who's been like guarding him to make sure like no Nihil
Yeah.
threats come, is like, "The old Dubak has excellent hearing."
God, love
Just
Skier.
because my arm is missing doesn't mean I can't hear you.
Yeah. Just because you can't see my ears doesn't mean.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And so she finally answers the question, does she enjoy being here at Starlight Beacon? And she goes, "For all the mess and everything, the answer is yes."
Yeah. So
I like this story.
I like the little Starlight short stories. I'm excited that they're collecting them into one book
Yeah.
soon. Because honestly, Star Wars Insider short stories should just be that way more often. Just collect them into a single book. That way, I don't have to collect a bunch of Insider magazines separately.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that collection is not till November that they all come out for that.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting the loaded gun on the table.
Oh. Just don't give it to Vayne. Actually, give it to Vayne. It worked out.
Who is your favorite Jedi Master from the High Republic?
Jedi Master. Okay,
Yes.
so this is different than last week when we talked about our
Yes.
favorite character. Favorite Jedi Master would be... I'm leaning Skier.
Yeah.
But I like Kai Santum as well.
Hmm.
Kai Santum's also a really good master.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Skier for you, considering the story is what prompted this question.
I like Skier. He's one of my favorites. I am torn between him and Loden.
Oh yeah,
Loden Greatstorm.
Loden's my boy, but he only made it through 1.5 books.
I know.
Well, 2 books. He made it to the end of the second book, but
Yeah. It's just, that's one of those things where it's like, so we occasionally make some like D&D comparisons
Yeah.
on the show. That's one of those. The DM was like, "I have a surprise for the party."
here's this really cool like DM NPC, but not quite. That's
Yeah.
gonna be around.
"Here's this friendly NPC who's helped you for a long time. I hope you weren't attached to them, because this is the final battle for them."
Yep.
And there's fuck all you can do about it.
Yeah. And then, so I now have a question for you though.
Hmm.
Favorite non-force using character in the High Republic? Because there's a good chunk.
There are. I am torn between Avon and Leox.
Good choices.
I'm gonna have to give it to Leox though.
Goddamn parachute.
You got punked out so hard during that.
Leox is up there for me, but I also still, and I want to see more of them. I want to see more of the couple.
Oh yeah, that's right. God, they're still alive and well.
Yeah,
Thank God.
and one of them almost got rocked, literally, because Geo'd be a manho.
It's just fucking around as usual.
Geode's a player.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, now how that functions, that's between him and his partner.
Yeah.
I feel like Geode is also pan and like doesn't like. I feel like Geode does not care if you're male or female. He's just like, let's get it on.
So I am going to give this story.
Oh yeah, we gotta rate it.
I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10.
I see that 8.5. It's a fun adventure. It gets right into the meat. Like it doesn't, which as a short story it kind of has to. But like it, some of these short stories do take their time to get where they're going.
Yeah.
But this one does not. This one's just like, here we go. So yeah, 8.5 sounds right. I'm almost leaning to 9. Almost.
If I hadn't been operating on about 4 hours of sleep, I'd probably give it a little bit higher.
And then, yeah. So next week,
Hmm.
you're gonna take your first foray into the audio side of Star Wars,
Yep.
because we're doing an audio drama. Because I have the book, I have the script, but we're not reading the script.
He's
We're
refusing to let me read the script.
no, we are doing, because it's an audio drama.
Hmm.
You don't
You don't just read.
read an audio drama. I mean, you can, but it's different. Like it takes away the performances, and
Hmm.
I mean, reading a novel makes sense versus, because I do the audiobooks, but that's a different situation where yes, this was meant to be read because it is it's a book.
Mm.
This is an audio drama where it was meant for you to hear the performances. So we got to do the audio drama. I'm working on currently figuring out a way to get it to you, but
Yeah, that's gonna be the tricky part.
yeah, that's going to be the tricky part, but I'm already working on it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing next week.
Yeah.
And then I haven't heard back yet on any arc. I've been keeping an eye out on my mail, because usually they don't always go, "Hey, we're sending you this book." It's more of like, "Here's the book." So I'm waiting to see what happens in terms of Path of Deceit.
What did I call it earlier when I gave it an entirely different title?
Cantum Psi. Thank you, Pep.
Did you say Psy Cantum?
Yeah, I did. I reversed that. So hard. I love Cantum Psi though.
Yeah.
Cantum Psi is great. They to me are the representation of what a Jedi should be during this era.
God, I'm trying to think. What was the Jedi equivalent of like a kindergarten teacher who got fucking wrecked?
And Fallen Star.
Yeah.
I got you. I got this.
Because that's another one that's like just super unfair.
Yeah, he's introduced in that book and then dead.
Yeah.
I'm looking through. I'll find it. No, I want Wikipedia, not regular Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is going to give me more details.
Oh man.
How
do you think Avar is doing after the fall of Starlight Beacon? Because from what I think, probably not good.
Yeah, because let's see, she almost fell and did something that she could not reverse.
Yeah.
Also, the non-Force user couple, the Adrians.
Yes.
Um, the
Josh and Pika.
yeah, Joss and Joss, like like. Unfortunately, I was gonna say like Joss Whedon, but
Hmm.
but Joss.
Fucking
And then Pika, I think,
Pika.
is the pronunciation.
Pika.
Pikachu. She's a
Pika.
Pokemon.
Pika. It's written.
Pika.
It's
Oh man, there's so many characters. I'm trying to find it. First appearances. Okay, first appearances will help me. Unless Pep's already on it. He probably already. Nope. I was looking in this. I'm like, did he already say? See, it's been a minute since we've read these books, so it's they're not like on the top of like.
yeah.
I could give the basic summary, but I can't like. Names are starting to drift.
Yeah. Like with them, it's another like Des situation where it's like,
I haven't seen you in so long that it's like, do I know you?
yeah.
Let's see. I'll just click on the Great Leveler and see who it's killed.
Yeah, that. What's the great leveler's KD ratio? What is it, like 4 to 6 now? Sorry,
yeah.
4 to 0.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, there's just. Oh no, you're good. We were trying to remember the name of the Jedi who dies in Fallen Star. That's like the equivalent of a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
I found it. Reginald Cole. Reginald Cole.
Like, because once again, theirs just comes out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. So like Reginald Cole is introduced in this book, and it's like he's like, I stayed away from the Jedi Crash. I was done teaching. Reginald Cole. Yeah, I was done teaching the little kids, and then he's like, you know what? Maybe I should go back, and then he dies.
Yep.
So tragic. He's like, I finally found what I want to do in life. Well, buddy, bad news.
Good news, you found your purpose. Bad news, life's over.
But yeah. Like I was saying though, next time we're doing Tempest Runner, which is a focus story on the fake eye.
Lorna.
Yeah, Lorna D.
Having a rough week last time I checked.
We get a little background on Lorna and get to learn their history, and that's basically the plot of that without giving away too much. I like it. It's a fun. I always say this when it comes to the audio dramas. I wish they could do more of them because I like the audio drama thing. Audio dramas were a thing they did back in the 80s and all that.
Yeah.
They did more. They did like 5, if I remember correctly, back then. And I like them. They're a fun little experiment, and I like being immersed. It's why I like. It's funny that I just saw what you posted in the Dyad chat, Pep. But yeah, so like I like that kind of stuff. I like being immersed, and it's why I like the Star Wars audiobooks, because the Star Wars audiobooks really immerse you into the world of Star Wars, because they do the music, the sound effects. They really, and if you get the right readers, they do voices or narrators. They do voices. But I like that, and so like an audio drama is the next step after that, and it's like
I see.
It's like what do we do to really immerse you? And it's like, and as somebody who has enjoyed a few fan audio dramas in his life, I kind of, because there's some good fan audio dramas as well for Star Wars. Some that are kind of lost art now, because some of them are gone from the internet unless you go to pirating sites, because they got cease and desist stuff.
Exploring the 7 seas.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's some good stuff. But yeah, Tempest Runner next week, and then the week after that, Path of Deceit, which you call. Oh, that was the question you asked me. Was what did you call it before we were filming? You called it Dark Apprentice.
Yeah,
Or something like.
I think that's exactly.
Yeah,
it.
Dark Apprentice, which I immediately jumped to Dark Disciple, which is an actual book, and then you were like, oh wait, and then I said no, Path of Deceit, and you were like, oh that book doesn't exist, Dark Apprentice doesn't exist. That was.
Who's the Dark Apprentice? Tell me.
But yeah, Dark Disciple is the closest thing to that, which we haven't gotten to on the show yet, but also a good book.
Shadow of the Sith, Reign of Empire.
Yeah.
There's another book that doesn't exist.
Shadow of the Sith does. Yeah, Reign of Empires. Oh yeah, that's what you called it, didn't you?
Shadow of Sith, Reign of Empire.
Yeah.
Those are 3 different things.
Well, Shadow of the Sith exists. Which there's a lot of shadows in Star Wars lately. Let me just say.
They're dead, my lord. I can see that. It's a great bit between.
Path of Deceit's going to be pre-recorded.
Mm.
I know that for sure because I'm going to a wedding that day. And I don't feel like wearing a suit on the show and then like having to get ready or not wearing the suit, having to get ready immediately after. And I mean, it's the wedding's in the evening, but I still like to just have, when I go to something like that, I gotta. And then next week's for Tempest Runner, we're gonna run late, kind of like we did today, because today we ran late because of work schedules. And that we're gonna run into the same issue next week because you were like, oh yeah, I got the same schedule next week. I was like, well, at least we know more than a day ahead, which is what it was for me anyways. This week you texted me, you were like, hey, by the way I worked till 12:30 today, and I'm like, oh okay. And you had the magazines, and I was like, your mom said we should both wear suits on the show.
I'm not going to. I refuse.
She's
going to a wedding. I am not.
Well, she said from here on out, so starting now. Starting from like Tempest Runner
forward.
Yeah. Just show up in suits. You know, we might get more of an audience. People like seeing somebody in a suit. Although we would have to we'd have to get you a suit. We'd have to get you a suit. Because that was something that came up
like we discussed
last week.
After the show last week. It was like Scotty was like, I was like, I don't fucking own a suit, and then it's like rent one, and I'm like, I'm not doing that either. And he's like,
yeah, we gotta get you one. You gotta at least own 2. 2 suits is nice to have. 1 is absolutely necessary. 2 is like a good safety. Your mom said it would impress our clientele. But yeah. I love when she comments on the videos because it's always against you.
Yeah.
Like you say something and immediately she's like, "Nah, fuck what he said."
It's great.
But we gotta fundraise you one. Which, hey, I guess that's gonna lean into our outros. So let's lean into our outros with that.
I only get pieces of the suit, never the full thing.
So thank you all for watching.
Yeah. Today's been a fun day.
Today's been a fun episode.
Oh god.
And we only ran about an hour, a little over an hour. She says I'm an good influence on you.
Fucking better be. Also,
did you want to say something before I plugged?
Mom, don't worry, we got the sparkling waters. I don't know why you like those damn things, but we have them. They're safe at the house.
I like water.
Yeah,
and then I flavor it.
It's carbonated water.
I know what.
The concept irks me gravely.
I don't like flavored carbonated water either. Like I like flavored water, but not flavored carbonated water.
Yeah, that's where it takes a weird turn.
Maybe that's why I also hate White Claws.
Maybe.
So thank you all for watching us. You can find us on youtube.com/Escape Reality Films, where we do where we do this every week. We also do book reviews whenever I get them. You can also find me on TikTok at CalebLockwood5, where I need to do more. I've been kind of dealing with life.
Yeah.
But I do book reviews on there. I talk just Star Wars in general. I do the funny whatever trends are going on with Star Wars trends. And then I also show my dog, Carrie. And then you can also find us on twitch.tv/CJ Star Wars 94, which is where we also live stream. So if you're watching there, go find us on the YouTube page. And if you're on YouTube, go find us on Twitch. And if you find us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you find us on Twitch, be sure to give us a follow or a subscribe. Every little bit helps. Maybe some subscribing can help with that suit.
That suit that does not exist.
Yeah, we need that suit.
Fine, but no tie.
You have to have the tie.
No.
That's part of the suit.
The tie is not necessary.
And then
I hate fucking ties.
look, you wear the tie when you go to a wedding. You wear the tie, and then when you get to the you wear it during the actual wedding, and then when you're at the actual reception, that's when you can take the tie off because everybody, and that's also when you can unbutton a little bit more. That's when you're relaxed at that point. But you don't not wear a tie.
Like I'll wear the suit, but I'll always wear it wrong.
And then if you can also find us on patreon.com/Escape Reality Films, another way to help support us, which is how Seth's mom, Jennifer, helps us out.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thank you. There you can find a little bit of extra content. You can get into our Discord, come hang out with us. Pep, who was in our YouTube chat, he hangs out there sometimes.
Yeah.
We got a few of our anybody who's been a guest on the show is basically there, except for Scotty. We got to get Scotty in there. He's on Discord. I got to drag him into there. And then I also, as part of the Patreon stuff, you can see some art from the comic I'm working on, because I'm currently working on a comic book adaptation of my novels. I've got Super Worlds, the Coat Wars short story collection, and Time Controllers Book 1 Time Ninja, which are all found on Amazon. Currently, we're adapting the Coat Wars stuff, because the Coat Wars is part of the same stuff as Super Worlds. It's in that same universe, but we're calling the comic Super Worlds. I'm just kind of scripting it and writing it, not drawing it because I can't draw, which is also why I haven't given Dyad any art for our show yet, so they can advertise it for us.
I see.
I can't draw. I also currently don't have too much money to get somebody to draw. And then, so yeah, we're working on that comic, and every week we are posting concept art. So there's actually new concept art up now, actually, as we speak. I think it was up at 1, actually, because I preset it, because we're just so far, we're doing well that I can preset, uploads to the Patreon page. So I can just go, upload that at 1 for me. And you can see a little bit of what we're working on. We got some character concept art up there. We've got some actual page artwork that we've been doing. So he's been working on page 1 and page 2 already. So we're kind of getting that done. And the kind of concept of that story is the Super World universe is if a Star Wars movie met a MCU film.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of this war story with some superheroes mixed in, political intrigue, and just all this kind of drama around that, and it's interesting. It's some family drama as well, because you got brothers against brothers, and so some good stuff. That's kind of my little elevator pitch for Super Worlds. Let's see, anything else that's us related before I go to the people that help us out?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we are talking about another podcast.
Yeah,
we're in that one's in the distant future.
30.
Do we? That's a joke that makes sense if you know what the podcast is about. And even then, it's obscure, extra obscure, even for fans of that franchise.
So It's so unnecessarily complicated.
Do we want to go ahead and kind of give a little elevator pitch announcement?
You could, or we could not.
So
How
I
close
guess
to the chest do we gonna keep this?
I think we'll give the name of the podcast. There can be only one podcast.
However,
And if you know, you know. And I think your mom knows from that. We've talked about this franchise on the show.
Yeah.
We'll go there.
that doesn't narrow it down at all. But that's a clue.
Yeah, that's our clue. I've been writing out plans
I'm
for
sorry,
it.
I shouldn't have clapped. I don't know if the mic.
We've got no, it probably didn't. We've got a drinking game for it though.
Yeah.
But then I learned there's novels and comics, which throws the drinking game off a bit, and throws off how I was gonna initially do the show, because I was like, oh, there's books and comics and like a comic that's 30-30, and it's just like, but a single issue. Yeah.
Troll.
We don't know when we're gonna do it. We're probably gonna do it. That one's probably gonna be a pre-recorded show if we do it. Just because I feel like that show's going to be a little bit different of a setup than this. It's not going to be a perfect synopsis type show like this one is.
No. That one will probably end up more as like
us just hanging out and talking about it.
Yeah.
And just going, what did we like about this? What's goofy? Because the franchise is
It's
absolutely
very
goofy.
However, some of my favorite shows, Baki and JoJo, start off that way, and they keep going that way.
Yeah. And you know what? Some of the best some of the best shows and movies and stuff are just that. They don't care. They just want to have fun.
I remember some of our best discussions have been us trying to summarize to each other what the plot of a game or a game series is.
And just over the topness, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and, now that we've given that little sneak peek of a future podcast out of the way, let's go ahead and thank the people that help us out. So let's give a shout out to Mobcast Network, who provides the space. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. So Mobcast Network gives us a little space. They rent it out from Gamers and Geeks. I am part of their production team. You can find them at youtube.com/Mobcast Network. They are also on any podcasting app you can find. If they're not there, reach out and let them know, and they'll find a way to get onto it. And they do a few shows. Cult Movie Cantina we do cult movies. We actually did an episode. They have an episode, and it was before I joined them, of a film from that franchise that we're talking about doing a podcast for. But the most recent stuff is we just did our season finale and announced the films that we're doing for next season. And they're all within the, I think it's 89 to 96. So we stay mostly in the 90s. And strangely enough, like 3 of them have a vampire connection. They're all vampire movies.
Oh man, you said the word, man.
And then we also do Tuesdays with Scotties, which haven't been uploaded at the moment. We're kind of like I say every week we're backlogging them. And then the other show which has come back
in case of emergency break.
Yeah. The other show which has come back is My Star Wars Life. We are currently doing what we're calling Andor Days, where we're doing little recaps of Cassian Andor. The first 2 episodes are out. We released episode 1 and 2 Monday and Tuesday of this past week. So Monday we talked about episode 1 of Andor, and Tuesday we talked about episode 2. This week we're going to be talking about episodes 3 and 4 in separate videos. And then I think that's it for now for them. And then, of course, Gamers and Geeks, they're the ones that actually own the space. They're our local gaming shop here in Mobile, Alabama, if you're ever out this way. They do tabletop stuff. So you've got D&D, you got your Magic the Gathering card game, you got your Warhammer 40K, and then in the back they've got an arcade that's free play arcade systems, but you pay $10 for the day. You just get a little wristband, and then you can play however long you want. And then next door, well, within the same building but next door, you got Engage Gaming, who partners kind of, they share the space.
Yeah.
And they provide like a rental. You can do a rental hourly rental fee of playing consoles or PC or VR. Let you be able to play video games you might not have at home. So say you want to play some game on PS4 or Xbox, or even in my case you want to do VR, but you can't afford a VR machine. There you go. Pay the little rental fee for the hourly rate. And if you're a member, the hourly rate is decreased. And so there you go.
Yep.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So once again, without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. So thank you all for watching. Have a good one, and we'll see you guys next week. I have spoken.
Later.
And now I have to run to hit the...
Oh, yeah, you gotta go run the button, because we're doing this original style. Well, everything seems